Well, we just heard Mr. Coots talk all about the last 3 years for you and the emphasis on returners and kickers. When people they kind of look at special teams as an afterthought when they think about offense, defense, but special teams, you've shown it can really turn the game around in certain aspects. Just what does it mean to you, like as when you're looking out there and you know that this game it needs something to kick it into high gear, and a lot of times special teams can offer that. How do you? I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do you find that important for the team as a whole and the morale to get special teams right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's everything, right? It's the mindset. We've got to be the most consistent team in the country in what we do, but when the opportunity presents itself, we have to take advantage of it. It's not something that we're saying this is going to happen on this play and this time. That's not how it is. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I've people see that it's an afterthought until it's not right, or it's an afterthought until something goes really well. So we're always trying to create that. We're always trying to create a big momentum play that can change the outcome of the game. So our two goals are to be the most consistent team in the country and then find a way to change the outcome of the game. And been very fortunate with what Chris just touched on. Great players make great coaches, and you guys have heard me say that, right? Players win, coaches lose, and great players, you're able to go out. We're juggling a lot of things right now. We're on the recruiting trail. We got recruits in. There's people around. Obviously, we can't talk about specific recruits, but I've been very fortunate the last 3 years to coach some really good returners, and that's been a lot of fun. And fortunate for them, they've been able, be All-Americans, all-purpose returners, and those things. And I've been blessed with great kickers. The last 3 stops, been able to coach a Lou Groza semifinalist. So those are neat things. And Chris, I appreciate the shout out. Those are awesome. Those are great to have. But again, that's players. That's players, right? That are great. Making it what it's supposed to be, right? Making coaches good. So got to go out there and get great players. We've been working really hard on the recruiting trail to get more in to fit our system, and we're going to continue to do that all the way through.
You got to get the great players, but keeping them consistent. What's the key to that? How do you do that, and how have you done that the last 3 years?
How you do anything is how you do everything. That's all day, every day. That's from the moment you wake up till the moment you go to sleep. There's 24 hours in a day, and we all have access. Every single one of us in here, every player, we all have access to the same 24 hours. And I think that starts with me. I have to carry myself that way. I have to lead that way. But I think consistency comes with how you do everything in your life. And I try and express that to our guys. You can't, as a specialist, you can't go out there and kick, punt, and snap 24 hours a day, right? You can't even do it for the length of a practice. We have to monitor that very specifically. So we work on gaining confidence all year round. We have 13 games this year, so that's 352 days that we get to prepare for those 13 games. The 13 games, to me, that's the easy part. I'm as relaxed as can be on game day because I believe we put in the work the other 352. That's where you gain the confidence to be successful, is by putting in the work. Your preparation, right, your meetings, your training, all that, your preparation gives you the knowledge, which gives you the confidence that allows you to go play fast, excel, play at the highest level, compete at the highest level. So we work on that the 352 days a year, and then on game day we get to go showcase our talents and abilities.
Talking about Mason Shipley and the Lou Groza semifinalist. He's perfect on the year. Is that ever? Yeah, good call. Is that ever an issue? Do you ever think, like, man, is it on his mind how he's got to stay perfect? Do you kind of wish he'd miss one, or what?
No, I can promise you, I don't ever wish that he'd miss one. No, I mean, I think that's Mason has an unbelievable consistency about him. I'll tell you a funny story. We knew it was coming, right, that he was going to be first team all conference. So as soon as it came out on social media, myself and Coach Cook, our special teams analyst, FaceTimed him. And we're sitting there and we're like waiting for him to give us some energy or something. We're like, hey, how you doing? What are you doing? Oh, I'm studying it. Have you looked? I mean, like, are we connected with the world? Do you know what's going on? He's like, no. So we waited for him to look on there, and he looked at it and kind of gave us this like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, we're yelling in the phone to him, screaming, like, congrats. Like, that's a big deal. His first year as the full-time starter, becomes first team all-conference. So we're screaming at him, trying to get him up, and he's like, I got a great snapper and a great holder, and we had great protection, and we got great coach. And he's just right here. He stays right here. So I would say his best quality about him is he's even keel. He stays right here. And that's what makes him very consistent, right? So in practice, right, there's going to be times it doesn't go well. Well, he doesn't let it bother him. He moves on to the next one. And it's always about the next rep. And he's done a tremendous job with that. And like I said, very fortunate. I didn't recruit Mason. He was here. and I was able to step in and get to coach him. That was great. But he's done an excellent job, and he's going to do it one more time here in about 11 days.
When you first got here to San Marcos, when you first saw like Mason, what made you feel like, okay, this guy has the potential to be, like, as you were saying, first team all conference, and then being able to be a semifinalist?
Yeah, I think that's part of the process as a coach. You come in, you got to evaluate your roster, see what you have. I knew he had kicked last year on kickoffs, and he had one field goal, and it was a really good one. It was a 54-yard field goal. That's great. But again, I think it's those 352 days. It's being around him every single day, seeing how he carries himself, seeing how he operates, seeing how he takes care of his body, seeing how he prepares, right? You always say people that want to be a professional, you got to act like one before you get there. He prepares properly each and every day, and he's just got a great mindset, and that's really key, obviously, with specialists, because we don't know how many opportunities those guys are going to get. I tell the long snapper and the punter before every game, I wish you luck. I hope you don't play. Well, we had one of those this year, right? I mean, John got to go out there on PATs to snap, but we didn't have a punt snap, and Seamus had to stay warm on the sideline. Good for him. So, but just the mindset, I think, was key. And then as we started performing, you could see that he was doing a really good job.
Also with Ish, with his 4 All-American selections by 4 different media companies, just what is it about him as a kick returner? Just being able to flip a game on the switch, as you say, kind of what special teams does, kind of flipping momentum once the team kind of seemingly gets the momentum on their side.
Yeah, and you guys have heard me say this before, that the returner in kickoff return, the returner's got the easiest job. It's the other 10, and I'm not taking anything away from Ish. Ish is incredible. You guys see him with the ball all the time on offense. He's got great balance. He's got incredible acceleration. He's super hard to take down. He can absorb hits and just keep going, and 2 steps later, he's at full speed. We've seen that on kickoff returns. He's done that multiple times. He's an incredibly dynamic player. But I do think a good amount of that credit goes to the other 10 that are on the field. Those guys have the difficult job. I mean, a frontline player on kickoff returns got to flip, turn around, run back 35 yards, find his guy, get squared up, and leverage people off. And those guys have done an excellent job, and we still we've been on the road recruiting, so this next week I get to take that group out for a steak dinner because we scored in our last game of the year that I hadn't had a chance to take them out yet. So the 11 people that are on the field for that play, we eat steaks. We score, we eat. So we'll take them out to a nice steak dinner. Looking forward to that coming up. But Ish's an incredibly impactful player. On offense, we try and get him the ball in space. Kickoff return does that every time. So we're able to create him in space consistently on kickoff return, and he's done an excellent job with that.
Obviously you've had the chance to participate in many bowl games as a coach. Just what makes bowl games kind of so special for the players and the coaches?
Time with them. So when the season ends and you're not with them, you hear anybody talk about seasons and success and all those things, and we've had that, and we're looking to go. We've already done one thing that's never been done before in the program's history, and we're about to go win 8 games, which has never been done in the program's history. So always striving for those things are great, but it's the time with the players. So we get more time. You hear people talk, when they talk about, I remember the locker room, I remember the travel, I remember these things. That's what it's about. So all we're doing is getting to spend more time. The guys are out there having a blast, right? Having fun. Now we're getting our work in, and the fun is in the winning, right? So that's what obviously the goal is, to go out there and win the game. But it's the time with them. We get to spend more time with them. We're around them. They don't have distractions right now. So we went to the basketball game last night. We got all these events and things. You get to the bowl site, you got events. But again, it's the time you're able to spend with them that is the most enjoyable thing by far. Coaches, players, and all that. Then obviously the game, winning the game, holding the trophy, all those things. That's obviously the reason that we're doing it. But the time you spend with them is awesome.
Speaking of that time, you get more time this week to practice and leading up to the bowl game. What has this week been like? What's the emphasis? Was it different than the practices during the season? Just a recap of the week.
Yeah, kind of a little bit of both, right? I mean, obviously you got to get the work in. We got to prepare. We know who our opponent is. You're doing those things to get better, but there's also some fundamental development. There's some young guys, right? We got a lot of young guys that haven't got a lot of run throughout the season that you're going to get them. They're getting some extra run right now. You're getting more time to develop fundamentals, to develop players throughout the process. You get more practices. So we're trying to use that to our advantage. Obviously, to stay fresh and stay healthy is key. So we're able to peak right at the bowl game. But development, and then obviously preparation. You're working in fundamental development with the preparation for our opponent as we work towards the 26th.
And even talking about recruiting, how you guys are kind of doing both with the early signing period coming up next week, Has the pitch been easier this go around now that there's kind of a proof of concept to everybody, like this is what we can do? It's not just selling a dream, as Coach Kinney said the other day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you're able to. I mean, we're practicing in December, so you're on the road and you're talking with a young man, and it's like, hey, I got to fly back tonight, or I got to drive back, and I got to get ready for practice. We got practice in the morning. Oh, we're practicing for a bowl. Those things are really good. They're good. And you can have kids out and they're watching practice. They're seeing how you interact. So yes, obviously you're not having to sell it as much. It kind of sells itself. The proof is in what we're doing. So it makes it a lot easier.
With this extra, what is the key? Why is it so important for getting these young players the development they need, especially during bowl practice when, as you're saying, these extra reps?
I think it's looked at that way because some people are getting it and some aren't, right? Some people are not able to practice right now because they didn't make a bowl. So whether you look at that being a disadvantage or this being an advantage, it doesn't matter. You always in life you can always find what you're looking for, right? And I believe I'm a very optimistic guy. I believe you wake up every day and you get to make it a great day, right? You get to find the things that are important to you in your life. So for us, we're looking at it as an advantage to these players to get more work, to get more practice. I talked about knowledge, through the knowledge, through the preparation gives you the knowledge, the confidence to play fast. Well, we're getting more time to gain knowledge and prepare, right? For some of them, it might be down the road, spring practice, next year, those type of things. So it's just giving us more time to be able to do that. And that's a huge advantage to us, and it's a huge advantage to these players to be able to get more work in. Obviously, the older guys, you got to take care of them. Not as many reps, not as many things. Got to get them to the game and peak at game time. But for some of the younger guys, it gives them an opportunity to get some great quality team reps that during a normal game week you wouldn't have time to get them because they're not playing on Saturday. Maybe they didn't travel, those type of things. Now here, we can get them in there and really see what they can do. So from a coaching perspective, it's also an evaluation period. We're getting to evaluate these kids and be able to see them perform, and it fires you up. There's some guys stepping up, man. It's great because you didn't get to see it. You saw it maybe a little in fall camp, and for one reason or another, it didn't work out to where they were the starter or the backup or a travel guy, however it worked. Now we're getting to see them perform, and it fires you up and gets you excited for the future as well.
What are some young players kind of in that group that don't really get to see playing time that have really kind of stepped up? Or just...
I'm gonna be completely honest. I was on the road the last 2 days. I wasn't even there for when we did a little scrimmage and those type of things. So I'm not gonna comment on that right now because I wasn't here. But I think it's good to get those guys out there and let them perform. And there's some guys that are stepping up, and it gets you fired up.
What is the key to kind of balancing all this? Because it feels like there's so much stuff going on. You got, these developing these young kids, also keep making sure your older players are kind of staying in shape, but you're also recruiting. What is the key to kind of balancing, like, almost all these three things?
Blinders on, be where your feet are. Right? When you're here and you're at practice, let's make it the best practice we can. Let's focus on when it's a period where the young guys are out there, get the young guys going, fire them up, develop their fundamentals, get them going. When it's the older guys, make sure we're locked in. The fine details, you got to be really good at it. When you're on the road and you're recruiting, it's recruiting mode. When you step off the practice field and there's shoot during practice, all of a sudden there's a break, run over there, and now it's be where your feet are. All of a sudden we got to recruit. We got to get that guy ready to join our program and make us great in the future. So I think that's key for anything in life, though, right? And I try and express that to our kids all the time. It's not always just ball, right? Be where your feet are. Whatever we're doing at that particular time, put the blinders on and be great at that. Star in your role. Players, coaches, support staff, media, whatever it is, star in your role. If you'll shine so bright in your particular role, right, the whole world will see. So I think that's the key. Put the blinders on, star in your role.
Even when you talk about the extra time to evaluate, it is. We talk about the younger players, even though you hadn't seen them the last couple of days. How important is it for not necessarily the bowl game, but even going into next season? Just because a lot of these young guys, a little bit of fog of war at the beginning of the season, fall camp, like you were saying. Now it's starting to get a little clearer. How impactful are these extra practices on that basis? Practices,
Meetings, and time. Right? Again, development in the weight room. Right? There's different rules in the weight room based on if you're in a bowl game or not. So all of this extra time is just absolutely critical. It gets them fired back up, gets them more involved, gets them more engaged, because now they're out there, they're getting reps. They're getting full-go team reps. Maybe they were a scout guy before. So to me, you can't even put a value on it. It's absolutely incredible, and it's something we need to do year in and year out to continue that development of these players, because it re-engages them, it gets them going again, and then all of a sudden coming back in the spring ball, they had multiple practices, however many it ends up being, that multiple practices leading into spring that, I mean, shoot, they got a mini spring ball before we get to spring ball. So for that development, and that's the hardest thing as a coach, right? There's very specific parameters that are set that allow us to be with them for only certain amounts of time. So when you can gain more, which is good, it should be that way for the student athlete, but when you can gain more, it's absolutely critical. The meeting time, the film study, and then obviously the time with the players, the development in the weight room, and then the development on the field. Yeah, I really don't think you can put a value on it. We got to do this year in and year out to be competing for championships and in bowl games to help us with this development.
You know, what are with all the bowl games you've kind of been to, what are some of your favorite memories of bowl games that you've been to?
The events and times with the players. Being around the coaches and their families. Obviously, we're gonna be celebrating Christmas in a hotel, and that's part of it, right? So then we've got so many little kids on this staff. I mean, we probably have to get an extra bus to get up there to Dallas just because of all the kids on the staff. But you remember that, right? Obviously, you remember the game and the result of the game. That's why we're going. Again, I want to reiterate that. So you remember those things, right? But it's the time in the hotel, it's the events, it's the interaction with the coaches and their families and the players, right? The players are there with the families. They're our extended family. We're with them more than we are our kids sometimes. So that's the stuff you remember. And you remember it really, really well when you get the outcome that you're going for. When you don't get the outcome you're going for, it's not quite as enjoyable. So we're going up there for a game for a reason, and we're excited about where we're at right now. Obviously, we got a long way to go because we got 11 more days to get ready for it. So you remember the time.